What's up, Gargot fans? HangingJoan.com. Tonight I'm going to be flying my V303 Seeker. Just had a little bit of a binding issue earlier. I think I had the return to home switch on, so something didn't calibrate correctly. So the quadcopter was giving some bad feedback, the red light when I tried to take off. So we'll go ahead and try to arm the motors, take off. So appears everything is fine. We took off from a nice level position. So I wanted to fly this at night to get a demonstration of the lights, get a good look at it at night so people can see it. So you have your reds in the back, your green flashing light there is your tail light. I'm keeping an eye on it right now because I did have an issue just a moment ago. So bring it in, we'll take a look at ourselves here. You got your two headlights on there, which almost look like eyeballs. We'll slowly rotate it around. Now it's a little damp, and this thing was sitting while I was flying some other quadcopters, so hopefully none of it got into the ESCs through the venting. I'm hoping that wasn't the cause for the red light. I'm thinking it was because I had the return to home on when I turned the quadcopter on and didn't realize it. So we'll fly this thing around lower altitude tonight. I'm just cruising it and observing it. The lights, it gives off a good amount of light. You can see on the ground it's reflecting off of there. And it lights up very, very well, so you can fly it high. You can get your orientation on this quadcopter very, very easy because of the two headlights in the front, and then you do have your tail light in the back, which tells you feedback about your quadcopter signal health, how your GPS signal is, how strong it is. As you can see, we're getting some solid greens. A lot of time on the camera it does show up as a yellow light, but it's green for me. So when this red light happened just a few moments ago, it gave me flashbacks of when I received this thing from Gearbest and it was broken. They were supposed to be sending me a new transmitter. They never did. If you are going to make a big purchase like this on a this isn't really that big, but for some people it's a bigger investment, especially into, you know, a toy or a lower grade quadcopter. You know, try to get it from a reputable company online, even if that means paying a little bit more. You know, a lot of times you will have good success with Gearbest. I buy a lot of my cheaper drones from there, or minis, but you know, something like this that came defective right from Gearbest, you know, they offered no support, no help, months of tinkering around with it. Finally isolated what the issue was and was able to buy a transmitter off the secondary market, as well as a receiver, and that fixed the issue. So I got lucky in that regard, but you know, they were very difficult to deal with. Now on smaller ones, I haven't really had any issues with them. I don't expect much out of a $20, $30 drone. Obviously if you're younger, just starting out, you know, that is a considerable amount of money to spend. So Amazon's always treated me right, especially if you're purchasing with Prime. You have a problem, you can take it back. Now a bigger drone like this is considerably more on a website such as that, so those are things to consider. But the V303 is known for having some issues, so you know, do buy it with caution. But if you can get a good one, hold on to it, because these things are really fun to fly. Excellent quadcopter. Not so much for a learner, because it does take a little bit of getting used to, even though it is such a smooth flyer. There are certain things that you have to remember to do every single time that you want to take off. So we'll keep cruising this thing around. We'll do some more passes right in the front here so we can check out the light patterns, the lights on it. But very cool quadcopter, especially to fly at night. So this is another one that you can double your flight times. Not only can you fly it in the day, but you also can fly it at the night if you choose to. So we'll bring it overhead. Right now I do have the Wakira G2D anti-vibration bracket on there for my gimbal. If you can see that on the bottom, that's what it is. We'll bring it in, we'll take a closer look at it. So those are the two eyeballs or headlamps in the front, and this is with no hands. I was able to bind this on a stable flat piece of ground, which is a must with this. If you don't, this thing will tilt. It'll drift to the direction of where the unlevel ground was when you try to bind and take this quadcopter off. So if your quadcopter isn't flying stable, but you're having solid green lights, definitely do consider finding a flat surface to do your pre-flight binding, as well as make sure it's completely flat before taking off, because it can mess up the quadcopter and its ability to be able to fly level. But for the money, with the GPS, flying quadcopters without GPS in this range, they're very, very manual. They take a lot of input. Whereas the GPS quadcopters, they handle good, they hold their position. Only downside is that, sometimes they have a mind of their own, and they can take off and fly away on you. So hopefully you do your calibrations with your compass before you take off on every flight to try to prevent that, especially on the first flight, because the GPS coordinates could be completely wrong or from the factory in China, and this thing will take off on you and never return. Many people have never found this. So this is exceeds the weight limit for the FAA. So per the new guidelines, you will need to go ahead and register this one, put your number on it. And it's a good idea not to fly it around people. Be careful around the props too as well. You can buy some prop guards for this quadcopter. I purchased some just as kind of a goof to put it on there. It was some knockoff DJI props as well as prop guards, and they were terrible. This thing actually wrecked. It was one of the first wrecks I've ever had. I believe in the only wreck with the V303 Seeker. And prop guard shattered, as well as the cheap prop that I bought that was supposed to look like a DJI prop. So I was unsure of what my issue was originally, of why I was having a binding issue and it was losing binding with the transmitter, and I thought it could have been a prop issue. So I bought new props, and they were knockoffs. The best success I've had with props on this quadcopter are just the standard $9 props that you can get, the stock props. They work great. They do get dinged up and banged up quite a bit, so it is worth it to purchase a few extra sets. I've just nicked this thing from moving it and handling it. And if you don't have an extra set, then you have to wait to fly. You don't want to fly with chips in your blade. It'll affect your flight, and there's a potential that the prop could disintegrate or break, causing the quadcopter to come crashing to the ground. It's not worth it. It's worth spending the $9 to get yourself an extra pair to keep it on hand, and then if you damage the one you have, and just order your replacements while you're using your replacements. So we'll keep flying it around here. We'll bring it in a little bit closer. We don't have the camera on it today, so we can fly it a little bit more aggressive. I've been putting the run cam HD onto this quadcopter and take an excellent video. For some reason I've been getting a lot of jello with my V303. I'm drifting a little bit to the back, so we'll go ahead and trim this thing up towards the front. Could have been the way that I took off, but it's drifting backwards a little bit, so we want to raise the rear a little bit, so I'll give it a little bit of manual input there. I was hoping to hold the position, but the ground could have been a little unlevel. It was dark when I was binding this, so. But this is the V303 Seeker. Fly it overhead here. Now landing this is fairly easy, knock on wood. I personally haven't had any issues with it. Some people have. You just need to make sure that you are holding down on the throttle on the transmitter in order to get it for the motors to unarm. So with the tail facing towards us, we're not getting any drift. It's a little bizarre. As soon as we turn towards us, maybe the wind actually is causing it to drift backwards, or was causing it to drift backwards, but we'll try to get it to hold this position and get a good look at it. So I believe that's what it is. I believe it's the wind blowing and causing it to drift backwards there. So not an issue. A good flight tonight. Was a little concerned upon taking off when I got the red light on the tail, which indicated that we were having some issues, but everything appears to be flying normal. So we'll go ahead and we'll bring it in for a landing. And we'll bring it in nice and slow. We've got the luxury of some level ground here on the baseball field. So we'll hover it down, bringing it in slower, 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 and then we'll hold down on the throttle stick to disengage or disarm the motors. Flip off the power button on the transmitter. You don't want to chop your fingers up. And you want to make sure these props have stopped spinning before you turn off the motors, because I did have it one time where I turned it off too fast. The quadcopter took back off and it flew away on me. Luckily I was able to hit the return to home and it came back to me. So that's the importance of calibrating your compass before you take off. But this is the V303 Seeker. Excellent quadcopter. My personal favorite. If you have a chance to get one, highly recommend it. If this video helped you out, leave a like. Be sure to subscribe to the channel for more upcoming videos in the future.